Welcome to the Lifestyle Podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode. Today, we're going to be interviewing my dear friend, Crystal McLean, and she's coming with a wealth of knowledge relating to financial literacy. And this particular episode is part one of breaking the chains of poverty mindset. Take a moment so you can be able to move forward in your finances. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lifestyle Podcast. I am so excited for today because we have an amazing guest. I got a chance to be in her presence for about 6 weeks, I would
Yes,
say, and I'm excited to introduce you to Crystal McLean. And did I say that right?
you did, Crystal McLean. Yep.
McLean. So she's coming on with our financial wellness. We're doing a financial wellness series, part of the Lifestyle Podcast. And on this particular episode, we're going to dig deep. We're going to talk about a couple of different things regarding our financial wellness because you got to be well in all areas of life, right? And your finances is that. And so she comes with a lot of accolades, okay? And so one of the biggest things that she is known for is she's the founder of Moneybox Academy, which is so needed in our community. And she has a lot of background, relating to banking and relating to finances in general, right? And so, Crystal, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience and let us know what's going on.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hello, everyone. And thank you, JurLonna, for inviting me to the Lifestyle Podcast. It's such a privilege and an honor to be here. I am Crystal McLean. I am the founder and board chair of Moneybox Academy. We are an intergenerational financial literacy nonprofit. And our overall goal is to make sure that we strengthen the topic and the mindset of financial intelligence. We look to do that through age groups from kindergarten all the way up to our seniors and our elders that are on fixed incomes. We extend out to entrepreneurs, we extend out to veterans and to disabled individuals, as well as to those that are re-entering into society from justice involvement. And so we like to do that because we recognize that this is a topic that was not taught. It was a taboo topic for a lot of us in our households.
Yes.
And so our goal is to really normalize the conversation and make sure there's some education along with it.
Yes, I love it, Crystal. Before we even get into the questions, you're gonna probably look at me like I'm crazy, but what I would love to know when it comes to finances, listen, I've been spending days and days in my finances right now, right? We can talk about many different things, but before we go there, what would you say? What is your theme song when it comes to your life?
Whole my life, I would be a mix between Marvin Sapp, Never Would Have Made It, including a little bit of Living My Life Like It's Golden, mixed with a little bit of, I don't know, like those are like the top two are coming through my brain right now because I truly never would have made it without the Lord Jesus being on my side and leading and guiding me, and then living my life like it's golden. I don't think that's a testament to just who I am as an individual, but we are commanded to let our light so shine. And I believe that living my life like it's golden is for me
Yes.
the reminder that I'm living my life in such a way that would cause other people to be curious about the God I serve just through what I do. So those are the two that I would think of.
Yeah, I can see that. And you doing that.
Yeah.
Look, I think one thing that I really wanted to address, and the reason why I want to bring you on here is because I saw you in your element, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so you can tell you're definitely gifted and anointed in this particular area when it comes to finances. And I was like, okay, people need to hear, I want to have her on the show and I just want to introduce you to some people, like even if they don't even know you and all those different things like that. And I think for me, because this podcast has been about, Christians and leaders about living the life that God has called them to live. And it's not about poverty, mindset, and all of that. And so that's the reason why we created the financial wellness series. And I want you to, I guess today we could talk about addressing that poverty mindset. And I guess the first question is, what is a poverty mindset?
So we first, and before we deal with the mindset, I think we really have to deal with the first part is poverty. What is poverty? So we know that poverty is a pretty much a state or a condition, an individual lacking the financial resources to just have a regular, basic, standard form of living.
Mhm.
So they're lacking those main necessities in order to have a basic standard of living. And so if we then take poverty and then tie it to mindset, it actually does not necessarily mean that you are in a situation where you lack the financial resources that are essential for the basic standard of living. It just means your mindset is there.
Mm.
So that means like I may actually have the finances, I may actually have the wealth, I may actually have the influence, the networks, and so forth, but my mindset tells me that I'm limited and that I don't have the necessary tools to have a basic standard of living. And so when people function with the poverty mindset, it is pretty much very limited, you know. So despite what you have in your possession, you function, you live, and you operate based on the mentality that I'm in a situation where I am not able to function on a basic level.
So let me ask you this question. So that's so funny you said that. So it's kind of, so these are some examples, right? So is it kind of like, you know how some people say you can move out the hood, but you take the hood with you? Or where we see, people win the lottery, or football players, professional football players, or professional athletes. And because they grew up in poverty, they do, poverty behavior, activities, that.
Exactly. So it pretty much like your mindset is still there, although your circumstances is no longer there. So your mindset reflects where you were, in the sense of like you use the example of, I won the lottery or I go to the NFL, I just signed this multi-million-dollar contract. But because I grew up in poverty conditions, my mindset, and that's why as believers, our mind has to be renewed daily, but our mindset is still stuck back in the trailer park or back in, the hood or back in. And so before you know it, those same habits, because your mind and your thoughts control what you do daily, right?
Yeah.
And so then that requires you to like ball out. Now you're buying all this jewelry and all of this. And a lot of it is trying to prove that you are more valuable. Right. So you then take on this whole persona. But yeah, I would that was a really good example to describe it.
Yeah. And it's sad in a way, but I think, to be honest with you, what I'm learning, because this is an area of my life that I've had challenges. I was a spoiled brat growing up. So I don't think I understood the value of a dollar growing up, to be honest with you. If I have to be
A lot of us
transparent,
did.
I'm being transparent here. I feel like I'm about to be in confessions, but it's one of those situations where I remember being in so much credit card debt, my parents bailed me out, and they bailed me out like 2 or 3 times. Okay, not just once.
That's a blessing.
It is a blessing. However, did
No, I know what you mean. I'm just saying because we've all been there. I've been in some credit card debt, and that's why I say even Moneybox Academy, or the goal and the mission that we have, and my passion behind financial literacy, it didn't come from me being perfect. It didn't come from me not making mistakes. It came because of that. It was because I felt that I was put into a system in a society where I had to manage and maneuver with money habits and not taught it. And so it really frustrated me. Like I was a first generation college graduate and I went to college with no type of exposure to, college one, but then also money. You throw me into this world, you make me make these decisions. Should I apply for the credit card when they're on the campus, and then how do you pay this credit card back? And, am I signing up for this student loan? Like you're making all these big girl decisions without any type of education. I made a lot of mistakes around money, and it was when I was deep in the pit that I realized like this is so dumb. Like why is nobody teaching this? Like I just went to school and I learned trigonometry and I learned calculus and I learned photosynthesis and I don't know how to balance a checkbook and I don't understand how credit is made and I don't understand what investments are. So it's like I just went through all these years of schooling on top of a 4-year degree and still was struggling with understanding my money.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. It's a good point that you said that. You didn't know, nobody didn't teach you, right? Like you didn't know those things. But what happened if you're that person, someone was teaching you, but you didn't listen?
Yeah, and that's common too. It's called learned experience. Some of us are, you got to learn. once you identify what type of learner you are, and it sounds to me like in that situation, that's more of an experiential learner. You're not necessarily a visual learner. You're not necessarily a, just get information and is able to take it from there. You're experiential learner. It's that, you go mess around and find out. So,
Is it
um,
hot?
right, let me see, like, are you sure it's hot?
Right.
Like, how hot? Type, and that's a real thing, because what it does teach you, based on the sometimes the pits that we are in, based on our actions or inactions, it causes you to remember what caused you to get in that pit, and hopefully with that knowledge you remember what got you there, to be able to make sure you're not going there again. So some people are that type of learner, and that's okay. It just means you're gonna make more mistakes and you're probably gonna lose some money, but I mean, it is a type of learning.
You said, "Oh, it's okay, but you're gonna make make some mistakes and lose some money." Really, that's not what you call wisdom, right? If you listen to wisdom, then you don't have to bump your head. What do you see the most when it comes to working with people of faith regarding their financials?
I see a lot of mentality around faith without works.
Mm.
Almost like a, not even a faith. It's almost like a level of, God's gonna do it, but you won't. You won't do what He called you to do. So it's like,
Well,
um, it's also a level of, we say it's being humble. We say that we are meek or whatever, but in a lot of cases, I've seen people that will use that excuse, like, I don't need a lot of money and I don't need, because I have the Lord. What I say to that oftentimes is, He needs people that are in outside the church. If we are believers and we are made in the image of God, and we're also reflecting the image of Christ, and we don't pay our bills on time, we don't communicate with debtors, we don't, we just feel like that's no responsibility, then are we really walking in stewardship? And that's what I see a lot of lack of responsibility around it, but I also see a level of false humility, where it's like, I don't need that. See, y'all want the wealth of the world, but no, like, we're in this world, we're not of it, but we still have to live in this world.
and money's a
If we
tool.
It's a tool, it's a resource. It's
Yeah.
it's not the source, but it is the resource that He's given us. And there's many examples in the Bible where, it talks about money, but a lot of times they'll go straight to the one that says, those that love money, you know what I mean? That's the quickest one, but it's like, okay, if I don't love money, but I recognize how to use it and I'm a steward of it, am I cursed? And so
Yeah.
I think I've seen most is a false level of humility. I've seen a lot of people that will say things like they don't need to be rich, or which you don't, but you should be a good steward, and you should not be the ones that the bill collectors or the agencies hate see coming. Oh, there's another church person, because you don't pay your bills on time, or you deflect, like all these things. So I've seen that a lot in the faith community, believe it or not.
I hope you really enjoyed this episode, part one. Look out for part two episode. But I have to leave you with this. I have to leave you with some homework. I want you to ponder on a couple questions. Are you one of the ones that believing but not putting action to your faith, which is the faith without works? Also, are you one of the ones that, operating by false humility, saying like, oh my goodness, I don't need wealth in my life? Listen, if we're going to be here on earth, wealth is a tool, right? Wealth is a resource. So I want you to identify those misconceptions about wealth, those myths that you have, those false belief systems that we have regarding wealth and finances, so we can go ahead and knock it out the park. Okay. So at the end of the day, are you one of those ones people are running from, because you mismanaged the money, right? So there's hope in all of this. Only reason why I'm bringing it up this way is because you have to identify what's been holding you back. You have to identify those barriers, those faulty belief systems, so we can address it, and then so we can conquer what we're supposed to be doing, right? So look out for part two of Breaking the Chains of a Poverty Mindset. Until next time, I'm your partner in faith.